So you think one of the police wrote the theme to the Ewoks movie, those two specials that were on TV?
No, I thought it was the Ewoks cartoon. It might be
No, they weren't.
droids. Hold on.
That
No,
would've been-
it is something weird.
That would have been something that They Might Be Giants would do.
You are fucking wrong, you asshole. This opening theme of the TV show, the cartoon Droids, called In Trouble Again, was performed by Stuart Copeland of the Police and written by him and Derek Holt.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
How about that with your police?
Stuart Copeland, he's the drummer. He was into
Stuart Copeland.
He was into rhythm, as you'd call it.
Yep. He's into droids, apparently, too.
His father was a spy. Do you know that?
For who?
Well, for Britain. He's English. He's a Brit.
Yeah.
Just like this. Oh, just like
Could
this
have been
movie we're going
somebody
to talk about
spying on
tonight.
the Brits.
Is all British. What a segue. Let's go to the song.
It's SETI BIMCO Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted. Revenge is a dish best served cold, just like gazpacho.
It's SETI BIM. It's SETI BIM. It's SETI BIMCO Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we make up revenge sequels to movies that we watched. And we start with a wildcard question, because in this movie tonight, we're going to watch... this movie we watched called Bread. We're going to pick a wildcard question and ask ourselves what character from this movie would be most likely to... And I picked number 20. Most likely to become the CEO of an elevator company. Classic.
That is classic. That's if you are new listening to SETI BIMCO, know that if you enjoy elevator abuse-based humor, do we have the podcast for you?
That's all I used to talk about.
It's like I'd say about 20 episodes. We did movies based in elevators.
I like
Tim
constrictions.
found the factoid elevators didn't exist in Florida before I think the creation of Disney World.
Yes.
It's a thing.
People are afraid of them in Florida. It's the devil's work. Are you outraged this week?
Yeah, I have lots to be outraged this week.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Because
Let me
we had
tell
a
you
fun
my
time.
day, Tim.
Since we last had this show, you had
yeah.
Jaws party. Can I talk about that?
Yeah, actually, while you start talking about it, that fucking reminds me.
Yeah?
I'm going to run downstairs, lickety-split, and get myself one of the many cans of Narragansett beer I have left over from said Jaws-themed party.
I will
Start
edit this
filling
out.
people in.
Okay. I'll play the song Popcorn. Wait, how does Popcorn go? Popcorn. Popcorn. It goes...
I'm back.
You're back. I was playing the song Popcorn.
The whole time?
No, I can't. We can't afford to do that.
But we can afford now that we have a sponsor.
Do we?
Narragansett Lager beer. The official beer of Steven Spielberg's 1974 masterpiece, Jaws.
Wasn't it 75?
It was 75, but he must have filmed it in 74 because it was released in 75. So in a way, I was right.
And in a way, you were wrong. What was the official beer of Jaws 2? Quick.
Schlitz.
Okay.
Yeah. The official beer of Jaws 4 was Zima. Just a clear malt liquor. Yeah.
That sounds right.
That's about right. All right, so should we talk about my Jaws party?
Yeah. I mean, it was fun, but I don't have a... Do I have an anecdote?
I'm going to tell an anecdote.
Okay.
Tim was one of the... So I have... I like to do movie nights in my backyard where I have a projector.
Mm-hmm.
And we show movies and we have themed menus and whatnot. And I mean, it's not the time of the recording, but the time of this party, it was right near July 4th. So
yeah,
every year pretty much I watch around July 4th Jaws. So I'm always nice and terrified to go into the water. And this year we did this big Jaws theme party and we had like grilled shrimp and other nautical stuff. Tim, my co-host, was kind of like the party MVP. Because he and his wife, producer Miss Lee, showed up with a watermelon that was carved like a shark. And even better, the shark was eating a little tiny radish person that they'd placed inside of its mouth. Who we have currently, we're trying to grow this radish into like a whole plant. We got it sitting in a thing of water. It's sprouting roots. It's pretty exciting.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What happens when you're going to grow a radish plant?
We're going to grow a giant radish, and then we're going to wait until you have like a radish themed party, and we're going to show up with that thing and just blow your mind.
Carve teeth into it. Killer radish.
Are there any movies we can think of that have radishes in it? I don't know.
You said you're going to have Jurassic Park next. I'm just going to bring a watermelon carved exactly the same way with teeth in it.
I'll be less impressed if that happens. Yes, Jurassic Park will be next. But cut it out. I don't want people to show up in my yard.
Well, they don't know your address.
They can find it out.
Really?
I don't know. Probably. I don't know. I'm gonna talk. You know what? I'm gonna Google that later and see if I have to move.
Tim, you can find everybody's address. I looked up the Pope,
probably.
The Pope once. It's like right there. I found it. I know where the Pope lives.
Vatican City, huh?
Yeah, I know. I can get to him anytime. I can send him a letter. Not that I have.
So speaking of terrifying behavior like that,
are you going straight to the movie? Is that what you're going to do?
No. I was going to ask you. You know what? I just looked up George O'Connor address. I even saw Brooklyn. It's the wrong address.
Oh,
I'm
good for
pleased.
you.
Yeah, good for me. Government screwed up. Tim, this week, anything happened to outrage you?
The news story I sent you. I'm sure you didn't read. I'm outraged.
Yeah. No, I did actually read it. Tim tricked me. He put the news story linked to the same link I need to use to get onto a recording session. So I was going to purposely not read it, but there was something in the little bit of wording in the link that made me go, I'll read this.
Because it reminded me of you, and it reminded me of the latest viral ads. But apparently in Thailand, they're selling cheeseburgers at Burger King. It's just 2 buns filled with 20 slices of American cheese, which...
Yep. No burger at all. Just cheese.
Terrible.
Why the fuck does that remind you of me?
Oh, because when we watched... it's way back when we watched Bing Crosby's Garden. What was that called? The Weed Killer's Garden.
Previous episode of Steady Bimco.
You were so outraged that he poisoned his friend because his friend loved to eat ham and butter sandwiches.
Yep.
So you must be really outraged that America has not imported. They outported. Yes, they outported hamburgers filled with cheese to Thailand.
No, they weren't filled with cheese. It was just they took 20 pieces of cheese,
American cheese,
and kind of vaguely stacked it into like a burger shape. And they were. I don't know if you read the article or if you just sent me the thing. They were having shortages because this became so popular.
Yeah, don't do that, people.
And so here's a fun fact you may not know about me. I am a slightly lactose intolerant person who it manifests as a headache. I eat cheese, I get a headache, especially if I drink with it. Yeah, it's a weird thing.
That's not lactose intolerant.
Yeah, it is. Look it up, buddy. And it's better than the option. I'd rather have that than me shit my pants uncontrollably like some people.
That's lactose intolerant.
Yeah, that's yours sort of lactose intolerant, you filthy monster. But for me, I get really bad headaches. And if I were to eat 20 pieces of cheese like that, I would have a headache for a week. And I'm just like, oh, it's disgusting.
You'd be like, not tonight, honey. I ate cheese.
And she'd be like, that's okay. You ate cheese. You don't need to go sleep in the other room. Dirty pig.
But there's viral videos, and I just feel bad that we exported that to Thailand.
Do you feel bad because you feel it's stealing like the thunder from the Grimace Shake craze?
I think maybe Burger King is trying to do that. Don't you?
I don't know, man. I mean, here's the theory. Let's do some conspiracy. They're starting in Thailand because they know that they're not as litigious of people as the good old US of A. So they're going to see how many people die from eating cheese overdoses. And if it's an acceptable number, they'll bring it here and be like, hey, happy birthday, Burger King.
And this is actually the appropriate one if they show people biting into a sandwich with 20 slices of cheese, just cut to them in the operating room.
Now, I know you never watched The Simpsons, right? Because you were too old.
Long ago.
Yeah, you were too old. Do you ever see the one where...
too old. Yes, I was very upset when Bart would say, eat my shorts. I'm like, this is outrageous.
That's you sided with Skinner. You're like, that's disrespectful. Did you ever see the episode? I believe it's the one where Maggie has Mr. Burns' old teddy bear. It's called Rosebud. It's a spoof on. There's a scene where
If
Mr.
it was in the
Burns
90s,
and yeah, it is.
think
It's
I
like
saw it.
season 2 or 3.
Oh,
Mr. Burns and Waylon Smithers are trying to steal this teddy bear back, and they kind of crawl along the ceiling with suction cups like Tom Cruise.
yes,
and
I think I remember.
Mission Impossible, and they're going to drop down, but then Homer wakes up, and he's just in his tidy whities, and he goes into the kitchen. He's like, "Ooh, 64 slices of individually
Yes.
wrapped American cheese,"
And he counts them as he eats them.
And he
I
eats,
think.
and he's like sick at the end and dying. Like that's what you're like after you eat that burger.
I know. Just eat Tide Pods if you want these videos. It's healthier.
Quick question: would you rather eat a Tide Pod or one of those cheeseburgers?
Well, the cheeseburger. I mean, the Tide Pod, I think, is
I,
instantly toxic.
But it goes through your system without breaking, if you're lucky.
No, I'm not going to swallow that.
I thought that was
No
because
way.
I would do the Tide Pod because
No, they were biting them. I saw one. They bite them and they
well,
open
then
up.
that guy's stupid. I'm just gonna.
Your digestive tract would break that down, though. It would be in your system.
I
It
don't
would.
know.
Come on.
Those kids didn't die.
None of them? Are you sure? I'm not going to Google
No.
it now.
I'm not sure. I'm not gonna.
People, write us letters in. Did anyone die?
Did anybody die of Tide? Oh, who knows?
Did the
Can I share what I'm outraged about?
You just did.
No, it's not what I was. No, it's not what I fucking. You commandeered that.
You're upset about
What am I upset about?
getting headaches because you eat cheese.
I've had a long time to get used to that. Here's what I'm upset about today, Tim. As you know, I'm the owner of 5 cats.
Uh-oh.
And undoubtedly, with the public at large, the most popular of my cats is Fran.
Mhm.
Franny is
I've met
a
Franny.
big... everyone meets Fran because she's the most friendly. She kind of plants herself on the couch. She's like, here's where I am. She's a long-haired, beautiful cat, but a big, chunky girl. So this morning, waking up, feeding my cats, and normally I'm swarmed with the cats.
Huh?
And I notice I put out Franny's food. I'm like, ain't no Fran. Wherefore my Fran go?
Don't make this a sad story.
That's not going to be sad.
Okay. Yay.
And I go look underneath the couch, and Franny's hiding.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know this about pets, they tend to hide when they're in pain.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, Fran, what's up? And like, she's just sitting there, kind of laying down, and she kind of turns and it gives me her belly. So I'm petting her for about 20 minutes underneath the couch, and I could tell she's not doing good. I go upstairs, I bring the food, she doesn't care. It's really, really weird. When my girlfriend wakes up, we kind of check it out, and we realize there's a little bit of blood on the front of her mouth that I couldn't see when it was under there. And she was missing a fang.
Oh.
She had a little
Just-
bit of I don't know, somehow, like, I guess she had a little bit of gingivitis, and, like, one of her fangs came out. And she had a fever, and we had to take her to the vet this morning. They had to, like,
Ooh.
she had a fever of 104 degrees.
Ew. Yikes.
Yeah.
But now she's
Which
okay.
I was over 104. So I was almost 105. And 106 is apparently where it's really bad for cats.
Yeah.
So-
Anybody.
Yeah, well, apparently cats burn hotter than us. I learned that today.
Oh.
Like, if your cat's 100 degrees, that's normal.
Okay.
Um,
Because I sit on
There'd
heaters
be-
sometimes.
yeah, and Franny is a warm little. When she sits on you, it's like having a hot water bottle on you.
Yes.
But
I'm-
my poor Fran, she got her tooth fell out, so now she's fangless.
Well,
and she
she
was
has
sick.
3 others.
3 fangs. Yeah,
But she's
But I asked her
stable
later,
right now.
she's much better now.
Oh,
I'm in a
okay.
room right now that's like cranked with AC. She was hiding out here, but like this cat who loves to eat. I was like, "Hey, Franny, aren't you going to eat?" And she was like, "No fangs. I'm not hungry. No fangs."
Oh, jeez. Did you make up this whole story for that joke?
No, this whole story is true. I
Oh my
I
God.
realized it was kind of. But as of this
Damn it.
recording, my friend is good, and also like
Yeah.
let's all if you're gonna write in at SETI Bimco with an E at the end.
You gotta.
Give thanks to Fran because like Fran at her fattest was a 19-pound cat, which is
Ooh.
way too big for a cat. She was only 12 pounds. She's been really working hard at it. We're all
Wow.
proud of her, even though her belly looks like a saggy testicle sack now.
Well, now that she doesn't have fangs, you got to feed her something soft like bread. Bread.
Oh, segue.
Did we watch a movie called Bread?
Well,
And
did
also,
we watch the movie, Tim? That's the question.
did we?
Did
What do you mean?
Did we both watch the movie you chose?
I did.
Did you?
Yes.
That's one person who watched the movie at least.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying.
I
I'm
sent
just trying.
you the
Did
link.
I watch this movie?
Did you fall asleep?
Well, no.
No.
But there's definitely, I'd say,
What happened? What's
about
going on?
10 minutes that I walked away and stood in the other room. While my girlfriend's like, what is that fucking noise coming through? I'm like, this movie Tim made me watch. It's the
She
Tweety
didn't like
60s
Juicy Lucy?
stained crap.
Well, let me introduce this movie directed by
Right.
Stanley Long,
Okay.
written by Susan Mercer, who was dating a member of the band Juicy Lucy, who is featured predominantly in this movie.
Couldn't believe they were a real band.
Yes, they are a real band. Did you look that up?
Yep. I found some real cool factoids about this.
So did I. I found also.
All right, let's hear your factoids. Spill
Let
them.
me introduce the movie.
All right.
Stanley Long, he made other movies such as Nudist Memories, Nudes of the World, Take Off Your Clothes and Live, Groupie Girl, Wife Swapper, Naughty, Sex and the Other Woman. So this movie wasn't actually all that sexy, but he seemed to do a lot of those. But this movie,
He was mainly known for blue films,
Yeah.
yes. And this one was apparently it was based on true life experiences of this woman, Susan Mercer, who was the co-writer, to some degree. So it's a little bit of a concert film, a little bit of I guess, as Tim loves to always recommend, a nudie cutie.
it is not a nudie cutie. One woman
There's
gets
two.
nude once.
Two.
Oh, two. Okay. Briefly.
probably three. No, there's three. All the female characters get naked.
And that monkey took his shirt off and his diaper. Anyway,
Wow. If there was a monkey with a diaper, that's definitely during the 10 minutes I left the room.
let me read the synopsis.
Okay.
This movie called Bread from 1971. It's about some friends who leave a music festival. And on their way home, they squat on the estate of a rich guy named Rafe. And they get permission to stay there, provided they paint the place and fix it up. But unknown to Rafe, when
That was Raph.
Raph, they're actually going to organize a pop festival on his estate. That's basically the story.
A what festival?
A pop.
I thought you said pot festival.
That too.
Wow, this movie was oddly devoid of drugs.
Yeah, devoid of drugs.
Not a single scene of drugs.
Weren't drugs a little more illegal in Britain? Were they more strict? Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Could be. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a concert film, a little bit of a comedy, and a little bit of a nudie cutie. And apparently, by all circumstances, it's not enough of any.
No.
The guy Long who directed the film, this is the quote, distributors felt there weren't enough tits in it. So this movie kind of vanished into, well, because his other films are just like boobs are shaking, boobs galore. So this movie apparently vanished into some obscurity before being rescued by actually a grant working for some sort of governmental grant in England.
Yep.
Said about saving movies like this. They released it as an extra on some DVD, and it's achieved since then minor fame and notoriety among people like Tim Hamilton, who haunt the nether regions of the internet finding shit like this.
Well, it's got scenes. It starts at the Isle of Wight Pop Festival.
Isle of Wight,
No,
Isle of Wight.
Isle of
Wight.
Isle of Wight. Because
No, look.
if it's that called the Isle of Wight,
It's the fucking Isle of Wight.
all my Isle of Wrong jokes, I have to take out of the show.
What you do? Come on, Tim, you were like the biggest.
Beatles.
You were such an Anglophile fan. And you're also a huge Beatles fan.
It's the
How
Isle
do you
of
not
Wight.
know what the Isle of Wight is?
It's not the Isle of Wight where
It's
Paul McCartney
not.
wants to take a vacation when he's
Oh, my Lord.
64.
I honestly can't tell if you don't know this or not, but I'm all right.
I'm sticking
Go
with
back
it.
to the beginning. I have a new thing I'm outraged by. I'm outraged by Tim Hamilton. Go back to early episodes of this. Before I was part of this podcast, he would watch a show about two old Dodgers, codgers, going through the locks of England. Just be like, oh, there's a nice pub there is.
It was a man
he
and his
loves
wife.
England. Yeah, I said
Two
codgers.
old codgers. Okay.
Codgers isn't gender specific, right?
I guess not. Yes, it is, George.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It is. No, you don't know shit. You don't even know what the Isle of Wight is. Isle of Wight. Boo, your entire premise is flawed. So yeah, they leave the Isle of Wight Festival, a very famous musical festival that Tim has apparently never heard of.
I've heard of it, George. One person was born at that festival, one person died, and one person choked on a sandwich filled with 20 slices of cheese.
But not the person who died?
It was good cheese, not American cheese.
It was British cheese.
So I guess 2 people died. Sorry.
Good story, Tim. All right, so yeah, they leave these hippies. I thought there was 6, but apparently reading synopses, there was only 5.
Yeah, 2 girls, and there's Jeff,
2 girls,
Trev,
3 guys.
and Jeff, Trev, and Mick, and Kathy, and I forget the other one, so I'm just going to call her Joan.
Trev. I wrote that in Trip. I couldn't understand what they were saying.
Yep, it's Trev, George.
Yep.
Trev and Wright.
And yeah, so they are somewhat cartoonish hippies, just a little bit of like, almost like, picture like a Hanna-Barbera set of hippies. They're all a little bit too brightly dressed.
Because they show the real hippies at the festival, like it's covered in garbage and they're leaving. And then they cut to these actors and like, oh, you're dressed in like costume hippie outfits.
Yeah.
No garbage.
It's just, it was a difference. And they lose a tent. So they're all sleeping in one tent on this guy's lawn.
He's like, who had the tent, Trev?
Oh, so
I had the tent right here. Oh, it's not here.
So right up front in this movie, which was only an hour and 9 minutes long.
Great.
The first 10 minutes is just this, I guess it's Juicy Lucy. This twangy fucking folk rock garbage just playing for so long. And this just goes on. I'm like, ooh. I don't have a very good tolerance for this type of music. I call it fart rock. This movie was about, I would say, like, honestly, like, no exaggeration, out of that runtime, like, probably what, 25 minutes was just music, right?
It was a big vehicle for Juicy Lucy.
Yeah. Did you hear, this is my big factoid. Apparently, and when this film was originally released, there was an additional 30 minutes of music that has been, like, they apparently have the footage, but they lost the audio, so it's been cut.
Was it Ringo?
So, no, it's fucking, I guess, Juicy Lucy and Dingy Schmlingy, whatever the fuck the other band is. I was so grateful for that. Like, I feel bad for Juicy Lucy and the other band and completeness of that. Like, it should exist as a historical document.
Yeah.
But for me personally, having to sit through this, I was glad there was a half hour missing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't Ringo. All right.
No, there was a Beatles mention.
I'll get you
but
understand.
Yeah.
And in this movie, there's old terminology. Straights are people who like wear suits and work in offices, and heads are hippies because they're like, they hate the straights because they're all about commercialism. Mm-hmm. And the heads want to give everything away for free. And
flats are apartments.
Yeah.
Yep. And lorries are police officers.
They're the pigs, yeah.
Yep, the pigs.
I'm just saying that
oink-oinks.
For historical accuracy here.
Yep. What else?
We love our police listeners.
Like Stuart Copeland.
Yes. Like Stuart and Sting.
Stuart and Sting. Definitely not Andy Summers.
Yeah, he doesn't like
hates us. No, he thinks we're assholes.
What are pigs called in Britain? Oinkas?
They're called
oinkas. I see.
Oinkas.
All right.
So after this 10-minute stuff, during this, actually, the credits play, and a fun thing, the movie's called Bread. Yeah. Here's some more slang I'm going to lay down on you hip cats.
Yeah, bread.
It was referring to money.
Right.
Because it's all about the people who have money and the people who want money and don't want to work for it. Right. So all the credits, whenever there was an S in a name, you better believe it was a dollar sign. Whenever there was an L, you best believe it was a pound sign. Weirdly, C's were not cent signs, but I guess because this was a British film, maybe that's less well known. Yeah.
C stands for corn hash.
Or colon blow. How about that?
Have you ever been to a music festival with a lot of musical acts?
Yeah.
See, that's why we watch a movie like this. That's a prompt for a funny conversation.
All right, let's hear your funny conversation.
Let's hear your funny story. What happened? What did you go see? Did you go see Hootie?
I went to this thing called Hootie and the Blowfishes.
Hootie Fest.
And there's all the fishes to see. No, I didn't see. What did I see? I went to the first two Governor's Balls here in the city, New York, where we live.
that doesn't count.
I used to go to that's totally music festival. It's like 3 days long.
Did you camp there in garbage?
No, I didn't have to camp there because I lived in the city.
All right.
But I went to like Lollapalooza. I would stay there,
wow.
I guess. The early ones back when they were multiple days.
I never did that.
Not because you were uncool. You were like,
I would
like to watch this English show about different cheeses and how they roll down hills.
I was at the Ithaca.
Wait, what, Tim?
It's no. You suddenly made me forget the name of the festival. Grassroots.
Is it
Festival.
called Ithaca?
Grassroots.
That would be a good one, right? Ithaca.
All right. Well, they're hitchhiking.
Okay.
They can't find their tent.
Yeah.
It's like, Trev, you had the tent right there, right? He's like, I lost the tent. Lost our bus tickets.
There was an interesting bit where one of the guys, I couldn't understand what was happening with the tent.
No.
But while they're mid conversation, one of the guys just wanders off into a bush and apparently goes to the bathroom while continuing the conversation.
Yes.
I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. You don't really see anything.
This was supposed to be a comedy, which there were like no jokes.
Yeah.
There was the monkey. There was a monkey that they were watching one of the hippie girls swim naked, and the guy and the monkey were watching, and they were like, yes. And he said, but not for you, monkey. Well, I'm trying to.
Reference to last week's movie, Golden Temple Amazons.
Yes.
Much better movie. Go see that one instead, folks. It fucking is. Yes, it is.
There's a cute dog in this movie, and I know George is going to tell me that cute dog is dead now. I know.
That dog is dead. That dog didn't even live through this movie. Did you hear that part in the factoids?
No, what?
While they were filming the festival scenes, they accidentally set up the stage on top of that dog.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't until after they realized that the dog had been flattened.
No. That's not true. That's sad. Don't ruin it.
It is sad. All right, so the five hippies.
They're hitchhiking.
I don't remember them hitchhiking. I just remember they get to this house.
Well, no one would pick
a property.
Yes.
They pitch their one tent. It's kind of a funny smash cut. They're like, we could all use one tent. And then they show like the tent, which is just a tarp with a stick holding it up. And there's like a bunch of people and they're hitting the walls like, oh, it's so crazy.
Yes.
Then a Jaguar pulls up and a man just stumbles out. Like, this guy definitely should not be driving. Well, this is Raph.
Back then, you could drive drunk.
Well, the funny thing was, he's with his wife, who's like apparently not drunk at all, but she still let this guy drive.
Right.
This guy is so drunk. He's like, what are these hippies? I'm not going to do the English accent, but pretend I have a super posh accent. He does say, oi, you're right.
Oi, get off my land.
Oi, what are these hippies doing? And she's like, oh, stop being such a straight. You could just let them camp there. He's like, you let one go there, they'll be 50. And, I mean, he was right. Spoilers. Yeah.
They'll bring monkeys.
So he stumbles, Raph stumbles over to our five hippie friends. Trip, Dingle, Splash,
Mick,
Flap,
Trev,
and Dibble.
Jeff.
Yeah, I don't know their names.
Jeff, Mick, and Trev. Very important.
And
for my Isle of Wrong jokes.
Okay, so he yells at them for a bit. He's falling over drunk. Then he literally passes out. And his wife, whose name is...
Checks notes.
Terry?
It doesn't matter. She's not in there long.
Terry.
She disappears.
No, Terry's like, can you help me carry him back in the house? So a couple of the man hippies pick him up.
in their underwear, carry him into
the house. One of the guys. Folks, if you do decide to watch this movie, you'll know who I'm talking about. One of the guys who I thought was Trip, but his name is really Trev, apparently.
Trev. He looks like a young Benny Hill.
He looks like Barney Rubble.
That too.
He's got like the big shaggy blonde hair. He's wearing a brown vest, little like leopard print bikini bottoms, and that's it. And he's doughy as fuck.
Yeah.
And kind of Terry, the wife, after they deposit her drunken husband in the room, she's like, why don't you stay here and give me old Rim Ram Jim Jam?
Turns into a porn plot.
Yeah, then they start having sex. And full frontal female nudity.
Yep. And the joke is the passed out husband keeps leaning his hand over and he's like, he's gonna wake up.
And he's snoring and you see like the well manicured hand of Terry reach over and hold his nose and stuff and
he starts shouting because he's having PTSD from the war. He grabs his knife. And the guy's like, I don't want to have sex with you here. He's got a knife.
This is already a better movie than what we actually saw.
He has those night terrors.
So the next morning, then we have a weird cut where you don't really know time has passed.
Yeah,
but we see Raph wake up.
And he can't find his shoe. He's like, shoe.
He literally says at one point to his wife, shoe. Woman, shoe. I'm like, what? He was yelling basic words. And she's all looking. She's had a right proper Roger, and so she's like, "Oh, I'm all happy I am."
She's naked.
And
still,
she is naked. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And Raph goes out. Oh, there's a tent out there because he doesn't remember the previous night stuff.
Yes.
So he goes out with a full head of steam, out ready to yell at these hippies
with one shoe.
Well, wouldn't you know it? What? That's true. But one of the hippie girls comes out, and
She's
also is naked, and you see
yep.
everything. And he watches. He has this kind of like dumbfounded look in his face, and you see the wheels turn. And he invites in the hippies for coffee instead because
Yep.
he's like,
bit-
"Well, I saw you naked."
A spot of coffee.
It was interesting. It was coffee and not tea. Didn't you think so?
Did he say coffee?
He does.
I was just going to say tea. I think you're wrong. All right. And
I think you're. I think later
his
there's
wife wears a
tea.
see-through shirt. Like, hey, here I am. It's very
completely-
weird.
Yeah, she's just hanging out. And he's like, But I guess he's like, well, I guess you get to see my wife topless because I was looking at your friend naked. I don't know. So they have coffee, and basically just to move this plot along, somehow one of the hippies is like,
Mick.
he mentions that. So Raph is an aristocrat who has inherited wealth.
He's a straight.
The house that they're staying at, he is a straight. But the house they're staying at is his weekend house. He only gets there weekends, and he's looking to sell it. But before he does, he needs to get it fixed up. It's going to cost a lot of money. One of the hippies is like, you get us the paint between the three of us and the two girls. We'll paint it.
Yes.
And because Raph is still like hungover, he's like, sure, that sounds like a great idea.
Yes. Bad idea. What hippie knows how to paint and fix up a house?
He was doomed the second he invited them into his house for coffee.
He's right. They will never leave, and they'll bring monkeys.
And he mentions, it was like so funny watching this stuff fall in place. I'm like, first off, he makes the line about there'll soon be 50. I'm like, well, they're definitely having a music festival here.
Yeah.
And then he invites him to the house and mentions he's gone except for weekends. Like, well, they're fucked now. So yeah, he gets them paint, and we see him leave for the week.
And they're
And
like,
you see one of the hippies is
painting a
painting, and
spot.
then and then Barney Rubble's like, "Oi, why are you doing that? I don't like to work. I'm Barney Rubble."
yes.
And it turns out it's a whole plot.
Yeah, this is the plot. They're going to do the
The one hippie guy, he's like, "We'll do our own music festival, like the Isle of Wight."
But for the heads, we
And-
won't charge people. I think that's...
Wait, no, they do charge people because they want to make money.
Well, I know. It makes no sense. But at first, he's like, not like the straights. We're going to have a festival. It's free to the... Later on, he's talking about it being free.
Well, it was interesting because they talked about, this was actually vaguely interesting. They were saying that there was already corporate sponsorship creeping into these things.
Yeah.
This movie was released in 71. So like what is Woodstock, 69?
Oh, yeah. It already happened. Yeah.
So like they're already like seeing businesses realizing there's like a way to cash in on like this sort of thing.
Yep.
So these guys are like, we won't do that.
Everything.
So they want to make some money. Now, the order here, they go, there's a
they find
very long scene of them. They find a weird little
chitty
car.
bang bang, basically, and somehow fix it up looking completely new.
It's like definitely a different car. They find a rusted out husk. They do a few works under the hood, and it's like painted blue.
And Trev seems to know how to fix cars. Every time they leave it in the car, he's like, "Come back, you'll never make it. I'm not done."
Yeah,
fixing the oil."
Trev is a wunderkind with cars. And so then the three guys, Trev, Skip, and Doodle, they drive this car into London.
Yes.
And we see very funny footage of this weird looking hippie car driving down the expressway and then
in my notes,
tootling through London.
In my notes, it said, "Long car ride with music. George loves this." That's what I wrote in my notes.
My notes, I wrote "F you, Tim." It really, if you're new again to SETI BIMCO, like Tim and I trade off on movies. One of the hallmarks of a Tim movie is interminable sequences showing.
Listen,
this was so long, Tim. This was 5 minutes. That just this movie is about putting on a music festival.
They went around a Rotary, George.
There will be
Do you like those Rotaries in England? They went around it a few times.
Yeah.
It was exciting.
Such long sequences of them setting up stages, such long sequences of music. It's like these movies don't have plot or even story.
Well, they went to the city to get an agent and get bands for their festival.
Yeah, and this is a comedy scene, I guess.
Yeah. Because he's on the phone talking to people. That wasn't funny.
No, but I think it was meant to be. It was like about 4 minutes of a guy talking on the phone about Juicy Lucy. What was the other band?
Juicy. I wrote them down. The other bands were
Scrotal Pull,
Fat Mattress, Wheels, The Pheasants, and Juicy Lucy.
Wait, no,
Those
there was
are real
another one you
names.
said before.
What?
I
The pheasants?
noticed Fat Mattress on the wall. I'm like, is that a real band? These, I mean,
I think they're
two
real.
of the bands are real, so they're probably all real.
Mhm. I
So
think
there's a whole bit, and like, I don't know, one of the guys, and all of a sudden, was that guy putting on an American accent?
I don't know.
One of the hippies suddenly was speaking the American accent, but they were,
Oh.
except for the Barney Rubble guy, I really couldn't tell them apart. So I was like, I don't know.
Well, Pete Best was in Fat Mattress, just so you know. Factoid I found.
For those of you, that's not true.
Pete Best.
Pete Best was the original drummer of the Beatles. He comes up a lot.
Not to be confused
on
with
this part.
Pete Better. So they leave, and it sounds like they can't afford. I don't know. The plot is very like they leave. It's up in the air. But the funny thing is, they run around London taking tickets off of cars. Police lady chases them, and they go to hide in a porno shop. Did you get up and walk away and miss this? You
No,
look confused.
but I didn't watch it.
It was the only.
I saw them hiding from the police officer. I'm like, nah, what's going on?
And the porn
And I
shop.
saw them getting tickets. I'm like,
Did you see that porn shop back then? It wasn't like in England they hide them. It's just like nudity everywhere. And there's a creepy guy in there.
Let's describe real quick.
He's like,
There was
you got something new. I don't like. I've seen this one. You got something with
Well-
horses and the queen. I need something new. There's a very creepy guy in there buying a film or something.
Well, he looked exactly like Clark Kent, I thought.
I thought he looked like Bern Gorman. You know him, British actor. Not making
No.
a joke. He was in Torchwood.
Not
He's
with
been
me.
in movies.
Well, the porn shop was it was covered with ripped out pictures of naked ladies. And then the three hippies were in there ripping open magazines and looking at them because they were plastic wrapped.
No, they didn't
And
rip
this
them.
one guy,
They just looking at
they're
him
ripping
saying,
the plastic off.
"Why they use such slags?"
Yeah, they were being very disrespectful. No, they definitely rip open the plastic and are looking because they're trying to hide it.
I didn't notice that one.
But the guy who's like renting the movie, because I think it is renting, because it's like
Yeah.
£23
I know.
back in 1971.
That's
so that's probably like
$125 in American dollars.
it could be. And
Okay.
the guy's like, remember, you get this back when you return it. So I think it was like a library rental place.
Yeah.
But
I guess that's how it worked back then, George.
yeah, what
Don't act
was
like you
the
don't
fucking
know.
what was the medium? Were these
You
there
back
wasn't VCRs yet?
No, back then you had
Were
to
there?
take your film, put it on projector, paint all your windows black, and play that projector. You had stag parties, other men. You all sat there together. That's
They all
that's
wear
how
antlers.
it worked.
Maybe it's like maybe they did it in the backyard like we did for my Jaws movie.
You can have movie night and do that.
So after they bully these fucking hippies, just bully the nerd guy who's getting the movie, they realize there's money to be had, I guess, in porn.
But first, I want to point out that porn store owner. He's like, "You kids, if you don't respect the ladies in these magazines, get out of here." Anyway,
Yeah, which good for him. You shouldn't be calling them
slags.
slags. That was nasty. Fuck those hippies, dirty, smelly hippies.
Yeah, they want to make.
So they go
porn.
back, and then we smash cut to a scene of the two girls with them. Like you see one asleep, and then you see like
Mhm.
the other one's face moving in very slowly. She's going to kiss her.
Yep.
And I just want to point out, I've never seen such a dramatic head discrepancy size between two actors.
I did not notice.
One woman's head looked so big, that one was tiny.
I
It's
think
like she's being kissed by like a little tiny baby head.
the one girl was from Scotland. That's why they have big heads there.
Bye, Scottish listeners. And then they cut to laughing because it turns out they're trying to do a porn film
Yep.
in order to make money for this festival. And then Trev, who is apparently the only one of the male actors willing to get naked for the camera, he's supposed to be the husband in the scene, and he comes in,
Painted
but
mustache.
I guess he can't. He's got a really weird mustache on, but he can't get a boner. So there's like this really long scene of him just standing there, like being like, "I can't get a stiffy, I can't."
He
And
says
so
that.
then they just give, and then they
like,
just give up on that.
What if we add a monkey? Remember?
And then the monkey
you walked
tears his
away.
face off. Yeah. No, I watched this. Tim, these ladies were naked. I stuck around for this part.
Well, the ladies are smart because they're like, "Where are you going to get this developed? It's pornography." And they like,
Do they really say that?
yeah. And they look at each other. The guys are like,
Oh.
wah, wah.
Can I actually make a admission? I watched a lot of this movie with the sound off. Whenever there was music,
Oh.
I turned the sound off because it was really bad.
But that was like meant to be a laugh
That's
line.
why they said.
That's why.
Okay.
Didn't you wonder why they gave up on the idea, or you just thought it's?
I
'cause
figured.
poor
I thought it's because
Trev.
what's his name Trev couldn't get a stiffy.
He
Also, he looks like Barney Rubble.
he ate too much cheese. Had some problems.
He-
He has like you get headaches. He
yeah.
gets
Erectile dysfunction.
erectile dysfunction with his
I figured he had
lactose.
sex with Raph's wife, and he was just like, "I'm done for the week."
Yeah. So yes. So then they go visit another agent, which was very confusing. He had a train on his floor.
He was the manager of Juicy Lucy.
Yes.
He wasn't
They
an
went straight
agent.
to the band. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a whole weird scene where like
He's got toy train with plastic tracks. That bugged me. I was insulted. I'm like, buy a real train. Plastic tracks? Did that bug you?
Tim Hamilton. No.
Plastic tracks on the train. It was all around his office. He was running them around.
Yeah, there was this, I guess, a funny scene where we got a phone call that was annoying, and like instead of hearing the other voice, we just heard like beep, 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 noises, and he was ignoring the person. So anyway, he somehow gets scammed. I didn't really understand it, to send Juicy Lucy and some other bands to this music festival being put on by these kids.
Here's where I'm confused. I thought he said, yeah, we're going to do it free. And I thought I saw the agent's eyes be like, oh, I see. I'm just going to listen to you and say goodbye. Was I missing that?
No, we missed something because
he was like, it's going to be free. And then I thought that guy's like, yeah, okay, we'll talk about this later. See you later. I thought
there was definitely a promise of money, because next thing you know, we come back and in like a pure Tim Hamilton film fashion, at Raph's estate, the hippies build a giant stage.
They steal wood,
and we see,
just like Jesus.
We see
They're all
so
carpenters.
long of that.
They steal a Coca-Cola truck.
No, it's exciting going to a movie and watching about 5 minutes straight of people building a stage. It's great. That's why I watch movies. I'm like, you know what? I want to see how the sets are made.
Well, didn't you like the train at the agent's office, except for the plastic tracks?
That part was great. And if you look very closely while they're building the stage, you see the cute little dog, and they just drop a ton of wood on it, and then just a little trickle of blood comes out. But and in the background, if you look behind that, you see a munchkin hanging themselves.
It's true. It's a munchkin.
It's fucked up.
Munchkin hung himself.
Yeah. And then they smack him open like a piñata, and they eat all the candy that comes out of him. So then they had the music festival.
And then you saw a ghost
gets over with.
in the corner of the room after Raph had sex with his wife.
It was Ted Danson.
It was Ted Danson.
So the festival happens. The footage of the festival. Oh well, okay. Well, they actually. I guess you're supposed to think there's not much thing happening.
Well, wait.
Trev is all sad. He's like, "Oi, where is everybody?"
Yeah.
And one of the other hippies is like, "There's literally thousands of guys here, mate. Go around front."
Yes.
And he goes around front, and we see footage, just the same footage over and over again of hippies jumping fences.
Of another festival, not this one.
It's the Isle of Wight festival again, because
stock footage.
The fucking band is wearing the same goddamn clothes.
Oh, they wore the same clothes. That was part of their act.
Oh, that's Juicy Lucy. It was called Juicy Lucy because their clothes
that's why they didn't,
were sopping with human meat juice.
They didn't survive because of the smell.
That explains it. That's why they never hit a big.
Only 2 albums.
So then, literally,
Well, did George,
20 minutes of music.
We don't need to go over the whole plot, but I did want to mention something.
Oh, okay.
You missed the only time that the humor almost made me laugh, and you must have walked out of the room. But the police, the Bobby, he comes to the estate.
I skipped that part.
You skipped it, and the girls are sewing, and every time he talks to them, they just run the sewing machine, so you can't hear him, and he's clueless of it. He's like, okay, you just had to come up and find out what's going on with the building of the stages and the monkeys.
In my defense,
yeah.
I actually wrote a note, like, I couldn't tell if that was meant to be that you were, like, they were doing it on purpose. If sewing machines just were really loud back then, and in typical Tim Hamilton movie fashion, if the sound quality was just so bad, they didn't realize.
No, sewing machines were that loud back then.
So the concert happens.
No sewing when the bombers came over in World War II. I could hear it. So the concert happens, and it's...
And stock footage from Isle of Wight. We see real hippies. They're dirtier, and yeah.
And Trev is trying to charge people, but like half of them don't have money. They're like, yeah. And
they keep showing them jumping over fences. Yes. Apparently there's thousands of people there. And then Raph, the guy who owns the estate, he has found a buyer. There was a scene we forgot to mention.
George.
And he's taking,
I have one.
I'm just trying to end this.
You're trying to end this.
What are we missing? What are we missing?
What did they name this festival? Do you know?
No.
I know. They were terrible at it. They had many names they had for this festival. You want to hear them?
Whoa. Yeah, sure. Oh, this is the Tim list, everybody.
They're terrible at naming music festivals. So first, they felt they should... No, this isn't a list. It's just first they felt they should benefit the whales, so they called it Sperm Fest. And that was a terrible idea because they're hippies.
Yep.
And then they felt they should benefit the girls, brainwashed by Charles Manson. They were going to call it the Leslie Van Hoedown. but that stinks. And also,
Shout out to Leslie Van Houten.
Getting out of
we
jail.
hear you've been released. Congrats. Go listen to our previous episode where we talked Leslie, My Name is Evil. You might enjoy that one.
Shout
and
out.
if you do, search out our erstwhile co-host John Kelly.
Yeah.
He's put out a guest room for you.
That's right. Shout out to John. Oh, we didn't mention this. At this festival, they serve sausages called Biggins. B-I-G-U-N. Biggins sausage rolls.
Okay.
So they thought, even though they're against it, maybe they could just name it their festival after Biggins Sausage Rolls, and they would call it Sausage Fest. But that's terrible too. Anyway, just
That is awful. Why? Wait, okay, I get your joke. Why did you feel the need to introduce the whole Biggins part?
for the joke.
Why clutter
For
up
the
the joke
joke.
with that? No, that wasn't part of the. You could have said at this part they served us tube meat and they called it the Sausage Fest
Because
that was more succinct.
Biggins is in this movie, George. I think he walked out of the room. Biggins.
Yeah, probably.
Biggins is served in this movie. It is. All right.
Let's end this movie. Literally 20 minutes of just Juicy Lucy playing. I left for 10 minutes. I was talking with my girlfriend and playing with my cat in her studio.
They eat Biggins.
And
You missed that.
we heard awful twangy music playing. There's probably footage of dirty hippies doing shit.
Oh, and Trev builds an outhouse. I don't know why we had to see that. It's one
It's one of your movies you chose.
one tiny outhouse for that whole festival.
Cool. So Raph comes back with his buyer. They're driving through all the hippies. The buyer's like, oh, I thought you said this place was quiet. And he's like, oh, what's going on I paid you all to do my thing. And then the festival is empty. There's no one there.
What?
And yeah, because everybody leaves after it. And he's yelling at them. Raph is yelling at the hippies like,
Oh,
I
that's
paid
right.
you money to paint my house.
Mhm.
And you threw on this. And he's like, okay, well, we're going to go then. And he's like, what about all this then, eh? And he gestures to the stage.
One little
By the
stage.
way, there's no trash.
No trash.
There's not,
It's a nice,
there was-
clean stage.
Moments ago, there was apparently
with a dead
it was the
dog.
Isle of Wight.
Yes.
Yeah, there's just a dead dog underneath it, festering in the sun.
And a monkey.
But you don't see that yet. And a dead in the back behind that's a dead munchkin. But anyway,
And a monkey.
and they're like, I don't know, if you like it, you do something with it. And our heroes just walk off into the sun with their dumb bell-bottom pants and their stupid shaggy hair. The end.
You missed so much.
I didn't. What did I miss? Really?
You went so fast, I didn't get to tell you the things
Okay.
that this movie had in common with the news of the day.
Ooh, okay. Let's remind everyone what the news of the day was, Tim.
1971.
Oh, I thought you meant news of the day we talked about earlier.
No, this movie had in common with the news of its day, which was 1971.
Okay. Well, you were alive back then, and I was not, so spill it.
So Biggins, as I said, I had to mention it. He walked out of the room.
Yes, big.
Was a
Weird.
brand of
Weird that you're
sausage
obsessed
roll
with this.
that was very
Yep.
popular.
Yeah, you already said this like 3 minutes ago.
These rhyme.
Yeah.
These rhyme.
Oh, yeah, good. Good rhyming humor. That's good.
Biggins was a brand of sausage roll that was very popular right up until 1982. And today, Biggins is what the royal guards shout if the queen clogs the loo. Got it?
I don't know if that rhymes, but yeah.
82 in
Go,
loo?
give me another. Yeah, but I
Right.
think just by the law of averages in a normal sentence, it's okay to have two. There was enough space between Lou
I know,
and
there
82.
was.
In 82, I clogged the Lou. That's a rhyme, but your whole thing was like you had like a paragraph there.
I write.
All right, go
too
on.
Much.
Let's hear your next. Let's hear your next one. Your Biggins crap.
In Britain around this time, Thatcher took away
Mm-hmm.
a free milk program for kids over the age of 7, and she got the nickname Margaret Thatcher Milk Snatcher. Don't look it up.
I didn't
it's
know-
true.
I'm looking Margaret Thatcher
Milk
in
snatcher.
1971.
Yes. See,
Wow, I thought she was like 1980.
well, she was around before that. So,
Well, I mean, it makes sense.
while making this movie, Suzanne Mercer, the one who wrote it, she took
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of the Biggins sausage rolls away from the extras and gave them to her boyfriend in Juicy Lucy. Thus, she gained the nickname Susan Mercer Sausage Surfer. Does that rhyme?
No.
Yes, it does.
No. Sir, wait. Mercer server? No, they don't.
Surfer. That's a very mean one.
Surfer doesn't rhyme either.
Well, that was mean of them to do that. Wow.
Why, Tim? Why Biggins?
It was in the movie. Why don't you believe me?
Where? I don't.
They
Because I never.
served
Why
it
would I ever?
at the concert when you walked out of the room. They had a whole thing of Biggins, and there was a sausage roll. It's real.
I don't believe
A monkey. That one guy was trying to take one from the monkey, and the monkey ripped his face off.
There's no monkey in this movie.
That's what you get for walking out of the room. You don't know what
I hope happens? Know what I hope happens, Tim? I hope somebody representing the estate of the people who made this movie catch what you're saying about this and serve you with cease and desist. Like, you are defaming the family of Mr. Long who made this movie with your erroneous mentions of Biggins sausage and face-tearing monkeys and all the other malarkey you spew.
This has gone off the rails.
Yeah, it has. Biggins. Uh-oh, Tim.
I have one last one.
Okay, but
In 1971, American actor and former rapper Mark Wahlberg was born. And that same year, Mick, Jeff, Trev, and Kathy, they got really high. And they asked the question, if you knew a baby was going to grow up and yell the N-word at black kids and throw rocks at them and also knock out middle-aged Vietnamese people unconscious in various violent attacks, would you murder that baby? And Trev answered, only if he was going to grow up and create a band called Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. That's so. Hand me a sausage. Lend me some lunch. There, that rhymes.
Wait, we have Trev to blame. Trev. So every time I've had to endure the presence of Marky Mark, it's been Trevor's fault because he fucking slacked. Yep. Wow, Tim, you were in a special mood this week.
That was terrible.
Congrats.
Well, because you know what? This movie had so little to work with. So little to work with. I'm just going to cut out half of this episode. Anyway,
woof.
Revenge. Yep. Let's go to Revenge. Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you. I'll get you. I'll get you.
Revenge.
I'll get
Revenge.
Revenge. One of us will die. One of us will die.
I will not let Cindy take my place. I will have my revenge.
Wait, we have revenge, but we have our. I didn't write it down. What was? Who is most likely to become
CEO of a elevator company?
I am going to throw out the idea that it is one of the nondescript agents we see, because this movie was filled with people who could never possibly have a job. So I'm going to say it's the guy...
with the train. The guy with the train, because he was mechanically minded except for the plastic track.
Well, he had... The plastic track, the train that you were so upset by, we see it traveling around his office. We don't realize it's only part of the diorama he's extensively set up.
Uh-huh.
If we were to follow that into the next room where it goes through its own little custom-built cubbyhole, it takes you into a full-scale model of London. London,
scale.
Circa 1971. No, not... Okay,
full
yes.
Scale? You mean 1/16th scale, and there's a little elevator. I know where you're going.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, man. There's so many elevators, Tim. Because he's not making one of fucking Florida circa 1971 where there's no elevators.
Right.
He's just like, his greatest pride and joy is the fact he's like, oi, look at this, mate. Not only does my little plastic train go on its little plastic track to all these little plastic houses, he goes, check this out.
Plastic.
He flips a switch, and you see little plastic elevators rising up and down in all those buildings.
Plastic.
And he would just sit there and watch that. It was almost hallucinatory. He would look at this and he would, like, the lights would dance through his eyes.
Did a lot of drugs.
He did a lot of drugs, yeah. He also had, you know what he looked like? Yeah. Who was that magician that said magic is the world of illusion? Doug Henning. This guy looked like Doug Henning.
I thought it was from Mary Poppins. Oh, no, maybe. Willy Wonka. A world of pure imagination? Isn't that
That's a world of pure imagination. That magic is the world of illusion. Actually, no word in common there.
Willy Wonka, no. Wonka.
Willy Wonka or won't you Wonka? I don't know. All right, Tim, you take it over. Bring it home.
Yes, he's delusional. He has a little nameplate that says, actually, I don't know his name, but he is CEO of the, let's say his name is Pete Pretty Good. And he's the CEO of the Pretty Good one-scale model elevators of London company.
And unfortunately, the company went out of business because in London, they don't call them elevators, they call them lifts. Oh, nobody had any idea what the hell he was doing, so he died destitute and penniless.
Yep. So many little mice never got to ride elevators.
That's true. And what finally happened as he was laying there on the side of the road, just dying, his last words were, oil can, oil can. The dog that we thought was killed,
yes,
it actually finally extricated itself from the wreckage of that stage. What? It came over and just shat on his face at the end.
What is going on? No, I think he was.
Happy ending.
I think he was lying by the road. Also, he heard a car radio, and he heard, "This is Casey Kasem climbing up the charts. Juicy Lucy with their new hit, same song you heard throughout this whole movie." Anyway, I don't know.
Let's just go into the actual revenge.
Okay.
I want to go first this time, if I may.
Because you're gonna steal my idea like I stole yours.
Probably. And well, that's the thing. So as you know, listeners, dedicated listeners, SETI BIMCO, we write the revenge sequels to movies that never had them. And Tim has ruined a few of mine recently. Also, I'll be honest, a couple of mine, the ones he hasn't ruined, I just didn't have anything to go for. So this time I made sure to write something in advance.
Yay.
So
these are amazing people. I'm going to cue the music if you're ready.
All right. Music's playing right now. Yeah. All right. So, of course, the person who's seeking revenge is Raph. Raph is the homeowner of the estate, the country estate, where our dirty hippie protagonists decide to host their music festival where they apparently eat bacon sausage and a monkey pulled some of his face off. None of that's important. Raph was left with this bill to clean up. He had to get rid of this stage. There was a dead dog under the stage.
Dead monkey.
Yellow matter custard dripping from its dead dog eye. He was upset. And as we know, Raph, he mentions in the movie, this house has been in his family for generations. And you have to wonder, like, why does this, aristocrats, if you're not like really super high ranking in nobility, like, it's kind of hard to make money in England these days. When you're like of the moneyed class, you only have the property. Now he is trying to unload this, but you got to wonder why did this last in his family so long? Because there was a secret to this property.
Okay.
He goes past the hedgerow down at the end of his garden, a bunch of other English sounding words. You go there is a stone circle. It's kind of like a Stonehenge, but smaller.
Oh no.
And inside the stone circle, he dons his druidic robes, and he calls to the old gods of England, before the foul taint of Christianity came and sucked everything up. And he calls on the nature spirits of the United Kingdom, and he wants revenge on the dirty, dirty, dirty hippies who defiled his land. And his powers course through, and he's able to warp time and space. So what he actually does, this is interesting, Tim. He goes back and makes sure the festival never even happens. That's why the festival we see in this movie is actually just stock footage from the same concert we see at the beginning.
Yes.
He goes back and one by one, using insidious Wicker Man-like stuff, he kills the hippies.
Wicker Man?
He kills the two naked blonde girls. He puts beehives on their heads.
Okay.
He kills the guy who looks like the one guy who looked like Howard Stern. He kills him by makes a vine grow through his urethra and it makes him pop like an overripe cassava melon.
He doesn't give anybody a cheese sandwich with 20 slices of cheese.
He gives one guy a cheese sandwich, and that guy, he goes, "Oi, this is great, Gov." And he goes, "Yeah, but now he's my druidic powers to make you incredibly lactose intolerant." That man dies of dysentery on the spot.
Ooh.
Until the only person left is our friend Trev, the Barney Rubble-looking motherfucker. And he's chasing Barney Rubble across the field. And Barney Rubble, he's seen all his friends die in horrible ways. And he doesn't know what to do, but he sees shimmering in that portal that Raph the Druid made in his mini Stonehenge. He sees a shimmering portal, and with nowhere else to run, that Barney Rubble-looking motherfucker dives through.
Uh-oh.
He is deposited 45,000 years in the past, where he becomes part of a tribe of not Cro-Magnons, Neanderthals.
My people.
That's right, the indigenous people, the original people of Europe.
Am I going to be in this? I
'Cause-
think I am.
Well, you are, Tim. Because he meets a comely Neanderthal lass, not a slag like he disgustingly says about the women in that magazine. She's furry, but she's stocky, and she's got good breeding hips. They have many, many children. And these children crawl through the centuries. They survive as a strain of humanity. And one of those children, yes, is my co-host, Tim
Oh my
Hamilton.
God. This meta.
Yeah. It's super meta. So yeah, Tim.
Stole my idea.
You liar. And that's how Raph gets revenge, not only on the evil protagonist of this movie, But even I get a modicum of revenge on you, Tim Hamilton, for making me watch yet another awful film. That is my revenge story.
No, I'm honored.
By the way, the reason I said that for listeners who are new, Tim Hamilton is very proud of this fact, so I'm not shaming him, but he did one of those 23andMe sort of genetic tests. Tim has twice the amount of Neanderthal DNA of the normal European person. And really only European people have Neanderthal DNA.
I just have the high level. I have the highest.
You have twice the amount.
No, highest. Yes, three times the amount.
Tim, you've shown me the letter. You have so much, Tim. They wrote to you and they said, "Dear Tim Hamilton," or should we say "Ook Mag?" Because they didn't know. They're like, this guy might actually be some relic of a pre-human civilization.
I have too much. They asked me if I could give some away to some other people.
They're like, "Can you make us a cave person?" You're like, "Maybe."
They weren't cave people. Come on.
Yeah, they literally were though. They find the Neanderthal. They found the first Neanderthal remains in a cave. I'd say that.
Well, that's where they hide. There's a thunderstorm. Nobody says they live there. People.
Tim, I call you an apartment person because you hide from thunderstorms in your house.
Too, under the bed.
Yeah, see, that's why Tim Hamilton, apartment person.
Guess I better read mine. My sequel.
All right, cue the music. Hit the lights.
Much like George, but mine picks up a few years later. It's 1976. Trev.
Ooh, swinging 70s.
Trev, Jeff, and
Felch.
Mick. That was their names. Oh, they live in a house together that they share. Kathy and the other woman, they married bankers and live in posh houses, and they have crumpets and tea time.
Nice.
Like twice a day.
What's the state of this house for Trev, Mick, and Dingle?
Terrible. It's a rundown house.
Are they the monkeys?
Because they don't know how to paint
Are they the monkeys?
Are they the monkeys? No. Come on.
Okay. I'm just checking.
Trev, Jeff, and Mick, they call their house the head house. It has a sign on the door that says, "No straights allowed." They didn't realize that the meaning of that word had changed a bit, so only gay men ever visit them, much to their confusion. They refused to give up their hippie lifestyle of its anti-establishment practices. They grew their own veggies in their own pot, plus they tie-dyed t-shirts every Sunday and often advertised the event and asked local ladies to come and join them in the tie-dyeing, but again, only local gay men ever came.
I'm impressed that they were in 76 in England.
Yes.
Pretty sure homosexuality was still illegal. So
I know.
Good for these people for being so open-minded and accepting. Good story so far.
I'm stretching the truth, but yeah, good for them. But yes, Rav.
Rav.
Yes. One day a man. Rav. One day Rav, he showed up at their door because as we'll get to in my story, he's also looking for revenge.
I mean, he's the most wronged person in this movie. I know. He had to. Yeah.
Rafi has fallen on hard times. He found out his wife had been sleeping with dirty hippies, and he could never find his one shoe. And he told them of his hard time he had and asked if he could camp in their yard and fix up their place. And Trev and Jeff and Mick are so high on their own pot they didn't realize or remember who Rafe was, and they agreed to let him stay and fix up the house. In fact, Rafe offered to paint their house and dust their pet rocks and lava lamps in exchange for some burgers and so a crumpet or two.
Question.
Yeah.
Canonically, in 1976, did the pet rock exist yet?
Yeah, it was 75.
I thought 79. Okay, go on.
So Jeff said, "Cool, man. You do that while we go off to work at the porn." No, that's the wrong accent.
That was good. That was good accent.
While we go off and work at the porn shop. Rafa asks, "You all work at the porn shop?" And Jeff says, "Yes, 2 of us to make the film and 1 of us to give it away for free." So Trev and Jeff and Mick go off to work as Rafa rubs his hands because, as I said, I gave it away. He's really there to get to revenge for all the havoc their music fest caused on his estate with the dead dog under the stage and the monkey and the munchkin.
The big and sausage everywhere.
And the munchkin that hung himself in the woods.
The dead munchkin.
So he's looking for revenge. And it took him years to clean up. Oh, sorry. It took him years to clean up that one loo that Trev dug. And another year to clean up all the Juicy Lucy merchandise nobody wanted, like Juicy Knickers and Juicy Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds candy that they got the cease and desist order about. And that's about it.
Seems like he should have thrown the Juicy Lucy material in the Juicy Lou.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I get it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, the loo is juicy because it's full of dookie.
It also took him years to clean up all the LSD, acid, and bad pot, and angel dust. He was careful, but he's pretty sure he inhaled quite a bit of that while he was cleaning it up. So you see, Rafe really does what Rafe does while Jeff and the others are working at the porn shop. He organizes a disco concert fest called Disco Fever Fest in their lawn. He does this in order to destroy their lawn and get revenge on them because he knows they must hate disco music. And he tried a few different names. He was going to call it the BG Fest to benefit the bees that the Bee Gees keep and the BG Beach House. But that was hard to fit on a poster. See,
wow.
That's how bad it worked for these crappy jokes. This movie was terrible. Had nothing to work with. Anyway, but for the most part, Rafe gets a bunch of disco acts and the band Snafu, which in 1976 had many members of Juicy Lucy in it. And when Jeff, Mick, and Trev got home, they were kind of shocked and upset at first, but they smoked many blunts and ate some big uns and drank some leftover Juicy Lucy soft drinks. And in fact, they ended up getting so high, they enjoyed listening to the horrible sounds of disco. Rafe was enraged and had a meltdown on the lawn, crying and rolling around in the grass. And a young lady came by and asked what was wrong. And he said, he told her the whole story about this revenge music fest and that it failed. And she looked around confused and said, Jeff, Mick, and Trev, they died of a drug overdose years ago, mister. Where is this music fest? You must be tripping on LSD or acid or bad pot or angel dust or something. And he looked at her with tears in his eyes and screamed as he realized he had inhaled all those drugs they left behind, and he was on a super bad acid trip. And he was
man, Shyamalan twist!
And he was missing one shoe.
No, wait! Did anything ever happen? Was the woman his wife, Terry?
I don't know. It was just a lady. It was just a bird on the street, George.
Just a bird. Wait, was she an actual pigeon?
Yes, she was. Three
was
pigeons.
She always a pigeon?
They talk like
was
gangsters.
He having...
These three pigeons. Oh, they talk like gangsters.
Wait, was it the Good Feathers from Animaniacs?
They were.
Holy shit.
And this movie was called Bread 2, The Leavening. The Leavening.
Oh, man. How do you not call it unleavened bread? All right, Tim.
This movie was so hard to pull bits of. But look what I did. I pulled humor out of it.
Yeah, that was humor.
Yeah. The bee.
Let this be a lesson to you,
Tim. The bees that the Bee Gees keep on their BG Beach House. Come on.
I know we like to take... No, the bees that they take from their BG Beach House. Yeah, I guess I could.
No, you said it wrong. It's the benefit for the bees that the Bee Gees keep on the BG Beach House.
Bees what?
It's a benefit for the bees that the Bee Gees keep
benefit for the bees that the Bee Gees keep at their beach house. Okay. The benefit for the bees that the Bee Gees keep at the
If you can call in and leave a voice message, message, and say that, you'll get a prize. George, what about the mail? We got some mail in our mailbag.
Let's hear it, Tim.
It's from Betty. It says, "What is Mark Twain's famous quote about Hitler?" And that is that is the end of the email.
Wait, that's the whole email?
Yes, that's it. Honest to God, that's it.
Wait, the email just says from Betty, and what is Mark Twain's famous
quote about Hitler?
What is it?
What episode was that? When did that happen? Did I say that and not answer it? Betty. Well, thanks for writing, Betty.
It's probably,
we love getting emails, Betty, by the way.
I may posit what this is about. I feel like Tim is not reading the entirety of this letter for some reason.
No, that's all it says, George. Betty, so thanks for writing.
Betty, of course, for those of you who are wondering, who are new listeners, why this show is called SETI BIMCO, Tim had a teacher, Tim and our other co-host who is currently on sabbatical, John Kelly, had a teacher named Betty.
Simcoe.
So is it a reference to that? But as far as the Hitler and Mark Twain reference, it's a reference to the fact that you always do Mark Twain references, I guess. And the fact that you fucking love Hitler.
Dude, making fun of him.
Yeah, no. All right,
making
listeners,
fun of
go back,
him.
listen. Actually, you know what? Betty, whoever you may be, if you are a real person, and if there's more in your letter, I apologize, Tim's not reading it. But
that's the letter.
Can you give us a tabulation, as someone who's clearly listened to more than one episode? how many episodes Tim Hamilton has mentioned the villain of the 20th century?
Thanks for your letter, Betty. Do not write that. We appreciate you.
That's really what it says?
Yes, Mark Twain's quote. He did have a famous quote. I think it was...
Here, cut this part. Well, he didn't live at the same time as Hitler. Cut this part out, but what's the email address?
He lived in the same time as George Washington Hitler, the dentist. Oh, no, gay Hitler was the dentist. George
Hitler,
Washington was his father. Well, thanks, Betty. We love having mystery emailers. Thanks.
How did they sign it?
Betty, they didn't. That's all it says. I will send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me.
Mark Twain's quote about Hitler was, I don't know. Do you know it?
Do it in the Mark Twain voice.
I don't know it.
I'll do it then.
It's not the...
In the 21st century, there'll be a young man named Tim Hamilton. And he'll be awfully fond of a certain failed artist from Austria from the 20th century. I'm speaking from the 19th century, and my name is a reference to the Mississippi steamboats, which I spent my youth on. This is me, Mark Twain. Remember this quote. It'll make sense one day. Booyah. And then the notes here say he does a backflip out the window.
I think she means gay Hitler. He lived during that time.
Okay, probably.
I think he said...
I hope you reference that so people don't think we're making infantile jokes about it.
No. There was a dentist in the early part of the 20th century. His name was Gay Hitler. His father was George Washington Hitler. Mm-hmm. Lived in Ohio. I think he was the one that said, I've seen the newsreel of the Adolf Hitler. I can tell that guy takes care of his teeth. That's all he said. He didn't know how bad he was yet, you know.
Notice that Tim used the voice of another to once again utter some praise for Hitler.
Wow.
Yeah.
But thank you, Betty.
Thanks, Betty. Thanks. That was weird, but thank you.
I love weird letters.
Actually, no. Take that part as weird. Yeah, thanks. That gives us something to think about and maybe be worried about. So for next week, as of this recording, we've just dropped an episode that's been doing really well because it turns out it's actually a movie people have heard of. So maybe they're actually watching it. And that movie was Boggy Creek 2. The Legend Continues. And this has been kind of playing on me. Like, we watched this movie. I think, Tim, it's fair to say we both really enjoyed this movie, even though it's it's a weird movie. But it was a sequel. So what I'm going to do... It's a little bit trickier to see. Boggy Creek 2 is available everywhere. Boggy Creek 1, you unfortunately got to rent. But I'm going to throw down the $2 to watch this in standard definition and watch the original Charles B. Pierce classic, the one that started the Bigfoot mania of the 1970s, The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Cool. I'll lay down $2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be
George,
interesting.
Can I borrow $2?
Yes.
So yeah, if you want to watch it on YouTube, $2.
And other places probably. It's like one of those things. It's like it's apparently been remastered. It's I don't know. It's gonna be fucking great. I can't wait for the return of Shirtless Tim and Tanya.
Is he in it?
And
no,
I don't think so. I'm gonna be disappointed when he's not. When I don't see his hollow, sunken, hairless chest, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, Shirtless Tim, wherefore art thou?"
I have a special note, though. It's not next week. We're going to take our second summer break. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Oh.
I know when this airs. I'm going to take a break.
For what? What's the holiday?
Gene and I are just going on vacation up to a cabin.
That's no holiday.
With the dog.
Okay. Nice.
So, yes, next week, we're taking a week off.
Next episode. Next episode.
But not next week. Just listen to a repeat. The episode.
Listen to Boggy Creek 2. The Legend Continues. Yeah. Again, to preference.
Or She Freak.
To prepare yourself for Boggy Creek. No, don't watch She Freak. Never watch She Freak. I didn't even see She
Or She Demons on Wheels. That's a great one. Go back and check it out.
Watch Power Pack. It's great.
And email us, SetiBimco with E at Gmail. And I put SETI on Threads. And it's on Instagram. And Good Pods. So, Threads is new. Check it out, people. It's also the name of a horrific movie from the UK. All right. We better go.
Right.
It's 1:20.
All right, bye,
it's
everybody.
Hot in here. Goodbye.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line. It's a party line.
Well,
So
you know what's funny?
little.
Our talking about it is almost as long as the actual runtime of the movie. And if you remove all the music scenes, we definitely talked about this movie longer than this movie is.
Oh, did you notice the posh guy, Rafi? He had a tape deck. Raf. He had a tape deck in his car. And I was like, ooh, a tape deck in 1971 in his car. That must have been really fancy.
Yeah. Well, it was a Jag.
Yeah.
It was a nice car.
I just didn't know tape decks existed in cars back then.
Well, I mean, I really want to take a close look at that porn shop scene because there definitely was something. They had like they almost looked like CDs of what these movies were on.
No, it was
like
a little canister of film, George. That's what you
really was it?
No, yeah. How long does it have to be?
I don't know.
When I was a kid, they sold little canisters of film of like old movies, and they cut out everything except the monster, and it was only like 3 inches by 3 inches. You know, it was small. I had the spider.
What do you mean they cut out everything except for the monster?
Well, I had the movie about the giant spider, and it was just all the giant spider footage. It wasn't them scientists walking around going, "What will we do about this giant spider?"
I thought you were saying it was the opposite. Like you're watching a horror movie, and it's like you can't see the Godzilla. We're taking that part out.